Oh, hey, I think I got it going. Can you hear me? Traveler, what's going on, man? Can you hear me? Let's see here. Well, I thought I'd do a little bit more live streaming as a way to connect with the passengers, connect with you, right? And maybe talk back and forth a little bit with some of these subjects. And sat down and I was thinking to myself, like, what are some ways that I would like to see Uber improved? And Oh, you're at the airport? Alright, good to see you, traveler. So so what are the things that we can do to improve Uber? I say we, I guess none of these things are in my control. But like if I had a day or a moment with the team at Uber, what would I ask them to do to improve Uber? And there's some obvious things like I'd like more money or stuff like that. Um, but maybe more thoughtful, something we can have a discussion about. So hey, green eggs. There he is. All right, what's going on? How you guys doing? Let's see here. So let's see here. I'm gonna kind of give you guys some ideas on five things that I think we can do to improve Uber. Now, I'm using the word Uber, um, but I mean Lyft, rideshare in general. Just Uber just happens to be the name that I think about because I'm primarily an Uber driver, right? So, okay, so here's my five things that I think we can do to improve Uber. Number one is rewards for being a veteran driver, a highly rated driver, like a five-star driver, or even a diamond driver. And what I mean reward is like a financial reward. Um, Obviously, there are some nominal benefits of being a diamond driver, for example, but there's really no benefit, financial benefit, between me as a driver with 8,000 trips and a driver with 10 trips. We're going to both make the exact same. Number two thing that I would really like to see is similar to Uber Eats, a pre-tipping or a bid, right, to get drivers. Imagine if the fare was going to pay out $10, but there was I see an additional $2, which includes the tip, right? So it automatically increased the fare ahead of time before I accept it. A driver request feature, you probably have experienced it all the time where a passenger, you drop them off at the bar, and for whatever reason, you hit it off and they had a good ride, and they're like, "Hey, can we request you to pick us up at the bar?" And right now, there's just no way to do that through any of the apps. Eh, Simpler and more consistent fare structures. I do enjoy the gamification of the app. It's the economist in me, but it's a little confusing. And I think I know a lot about math and economics and numbers, and I'm really confused sometimes. So there's that. Then the fifth thing, and we'll wrap our video today up about this, compassionate acknowledgement from leadership. If you were to go through um, our senior executives at rideshare companies, Uber and Lyft, rarely, if ever, do you ever hear them, they're on their social media talk about violence that happened to a driver, right? You never hear them acknowledge. Like at Dara's Twitter feed, he never says something along the lines of like, "Hey, tragically, we lost a driver today due to violence." And so I want to get in those five subjects. Of course, I want to hear your subjects and your ideas too. So this is a conversation. So again, in the chat, just go ahead and make a comment, and we'll bring that up to the table here. So Traveler says tipping should be done afterwards to reward a service. Yes, I don't disagree with that at all. Um, but what I'm looking for is a way for me as a driver, right? I'm a driver that tries to work and earn a tip, right? I think some drivers don't care. Man, I get that. That's fine. But for me, tipping is a way for me to get more money, right? So let's jump into that subject first, traveler, since you made a comment about it, and let's see if we can, you know, again, we're not talking to Uber here; it's just us, but a way to actually kind of get out there and address that subject. So with Uber Eats. right? And I think DoorDash too. The passenger can, um, pre-tip, right? They pay $10 for the food delivery, whatever the price is, and they might put a $2 or $3 um, tip on top of that. Um, but to your point, traveler, you're like, hey, well, you should pay for do the tip afterwards. The problem is with that situation is you and I don't know if we're going to get a tip. And there's an anti-tipping culture, right, in America, where less and less people want to tip, for good or bad reasons. I'm not judging it, but that's just the truth. People are not wanting to tip as much as they used to. And I want to find a way to earn as much money as possible. And tipping is a way for you and me to earn as much money as possible. So we're calling it a tip, but what I'm really looking for is the propensity, of that person to tip. Right? So there's two options here for this tipping method that you and I are talking about here. Option one is the pre-tip, but it's not a tip, is it? To your point, traveler, it's more of a bid, right? Imagine if you and I had a look at all the different fares that are out there, and if I see a $10 fare and a $10 fare, I don't know which one I'm going to take, right? But if I saw a $10 fare and a $10 fare, but there's two additional dollars, right? Then I'll take that trip, right? Because it's $12 versus 10. That's what it is. So the pre-tip, while we're calling it a tip, is really a bid, right? And we see it on DoorDash and we see it on Uber Eats all the time, right? If it's just a $3 thing, I'm not going to take it because it's just $3, and that person's probably not going to tip me when I deliver the food, right? However, if I see it as $13 because there's a $10 tip, I'm going to take that. Now, of course, they can pull that tip with Uber Eats. So I've heard it called as tipping roulette. You think you're going to get the tip, but then they pull it back. It's almost like that situation, right, traveler, where somebody goes to a restaurant, puts the $10 bill on the table, and tells the waitress or the waiter, if you're really good, you're going to get this $10. But if you make a mistake, you're not going to get this $10. So I'm we're calling it the word tip, but I'm thinking of it more as again a bid, right? It's almost like a surge. If there's a lot of people out there requesting Ubers, the one that is gonna tip is the one I want to take, right? Another way to do it, traveler, might be something like this: a rating that says this passenger is a five-star driver, and they give good tips, right? Imagine if there was like part of their rating said something along the lines of like, their average tip is $3 or something like that. I'm again more likely to take that trip even if it pays less because I know that that passenger is going to tip. In a perfect world, every passenger would tip me, right? Um, right. So to your point, traveler, about being old school, you're probably a really good tipper and you probably tip in every situation, where that's just not the case with a lot of the people now. So I'm kind of like doing like a guess on who's going to tip me, who's not going to tip me. So some sort of way, the change that I would like to see in Uber or Lyft is in the world of rideshare, as I'd like to see that tip ahead of time, whether it's given to me or there's an opportunity for me to earn it. Because right now, every trip I take, I don't know, and I treat each one of my passengers the same, right? Um, this morning, I've done a bunch of trips, and to that point, no, let's see here, who tipped me? I got two tips out of I think the 10 rides that I did today, which is lower than my normal. Um, the guy that made me wait for him, he didn't tip me. He was a doctor. He talked about how he didn't like the hospital he's currently working at because his wage wasn't where he wanted, and he made me wait the almost the full 7 minutes, and he didn't tip me, right? Whereas I took a nurse. I say a nurse. I think it was like more of like a health aide to that same hospital. She tipped me, so and she didn't make me wait because, and that's my point, traveler, about tipping is my level of service is the same. I helped people with their luggage today, right? I was taking them to the airport, and they didn't tip me. Maybe that tip will come later, but for the most part, I doubt it, right? Um, and I'm just a big proponent of tipping. It's a good chance for people like me and you, traveler, that work really hard. Um, and, we want the opportunity to earn a tip. And a good job that pays well with tips, we're talking like, thousands of dollars a year, right? So it's really important to me. Any other thoughts on the idea of the pre-tip or the or my I'm using the word tip, but the idea of like I can I can determine you and I can determine if that passenger is either A gonna tip or they've already pre-tipped. Um, that's kind of what I'm looking at here, as opposed to kind of which is I don't know, I do it a bunch. Kyle, hey, there he is. Man, I tell you, I'm so happy you're out here, man. That's one of my favorites. This series, yes, I love the idea of treating it like Uber Eats, tip in advance, like a bid, right? I think some of those rides that you take, you way out of the way, would be easier to stomach if the rider you would like it. Yeah, if they could get picked up quickly. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's we're calling it a tip, right? Because it's over and above the price of what they would need to get to and from their destination, right? But that bid, that tip incentivizes, right? Traveler, Kyle, Green Eggs, incentivizes us to take that trip. So there you go. That's my first one right there. Okay, so again, put your in the chat. Put any type of you know options or ideas that you have to improve Uber and Lyft or any of the rideshare companies too. Before I get into my next four options, I want to quickly give a shout out to Tonquin. Tonquin is a sponsor of the Daily Drive. And what Tonquin is car parts delivery. It's very similar to Uber Eats or any other delivery service, but it works on our phones, right? So we turn the app on and then you'll see it. It'll be like for $18, you got to go to this auto zone or wherever and drop it off at Bob's, auto repair shop. And what I like about it, all right, is they're busy when rideshare gets really slow. I'm a big rideshare kind of guy. I love rideshare. I don't do much Uber Eats or any other thing. And so that 10 o'clock in the afternoon, right? It's 11 o'clock here on the East Coast, till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon in my town is really dead, that 4 hour window. However, that that dip in revenue, I really have an opportunity with Tonquin to kind of actually earn some really good money through Tonquin. Tonquin is basically in most cities. It's not in every city. They're looking for drivers in a lot of those cities. Um, it's good. I've worked with them for many years now. It's great. I like it. So, and what's really the best part about it is you're working with businesses, right? AutoZone's a business, and Bob's, body shop, whatever. They're businesses, so they don't mess around. You show up, they want to give you that part right away. And that place where you go to drop off that part, they've been waiting for that part because they can't do the repair until they get that part. So it just works out really well. And just let them know that Levi over at Tippy in the app sent you. So traveler, great. I'm glad you signed up, and I'm sure they're going to get on that approval right away. All right, let's talk about some more ways we can improve Uber. Number one, in my mind, is this pre-tip, this bid, and Traveler and Kyle. I appreciate all your feedback on that. Number two thing is compensate. I said reward, but I really mean compensate some way, somehow. The veteran drivers, the people with thousands of trips, right? I'm at 8,000. I know there's a lot people with a lot more, but 8,000 is a lot, right? And diamond drivers, if that matters, and or at least five-star drivers. And this is a benefit not only to me as a driver, right? Because I qualify for all three of those things. I'm a diamond, five-star, veteran driver. But I think this is going to benefit Uber too, right? Or Lyft. So much of their budget is going out there and getting new drivers, right? Their marketing budget is trying to bring new drivers into the market all the time. And the problem is people like me, we kind of get burned out, right? We get frustrated, the fares drop or whatever it might be. There's no incentive for me to be a long time driver to any one of these platforms, especially with Uber. And what if, right? This is a way to improve it. What if I was rewarded for my veteran status? Like, let's say I got $1 extra every trip. I don't know, I'm just making it up. And if I do 100 trips in a week, I'm talking $100 a week. That's 5,000 bucks a year. So now my veteran status, right, is being rewarded. The same goes with 5-star drivers and or diamond drivers, right? My point is that additional money is going to make me kind of like with the idea of tips, do my best. Like to maintain my 5-star rating, I want to like load the luggage and keep my car clean and just all those things along those ways. It makes me want to be a long time driver. And this benefits Uber too, right? If they have a lot of professionals out there with clean cars that are safe drivers that know their city. Green eggs, thank you so much. Please, listen to this show later on and still make Oh, my audio cut out. Can you hear me, Kyle? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I can't. I could see it. It says it's got audio on here, so it says it's going audio. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna take my earbuds out. Maybe that'll help too. Let's see here.